get started. Who here needs help analyzing deals? Who needs help like with the acquisition side of your deals? That's what I wanted to go over today. So I feel like once we get into this, you'll kind of have a better idea. But I was mentioning I teach through the six-step system. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to see I'm going to have a whiteboard. All right. So just give me a yes if you can see the whiteboard, and that way I can make sure you're awake as well too. Okay. Now with my six-step system, which is what the beginner course offers, right? That's what you're going to get when you sign up. You get this beginner course. It's going to go through this. All right, but I'm going to just quickly just draw the six-step system, and then after that, then I'm going to go through the acquisitions department. So this is obviously you. Unless you're like, you're doing a lot of deals and stuff. And this is actually your company, all right? And this is your organizational chart. When I first got started in real estate investing, I created this chart and then I put it on my wall. And it said in every single department, it said you is what it said, all right? And then after I started growing, I was like, I need to change some of these names. I was like, this is Chris, and this is Jennifer, and this is like, Teresa. And I started like adding people. And over time, I was the only one I also did, and all the other departments somebody else took care of, right? I got really, really good at delegating. Okay, so the six-step system is here. So the first one is setting up your office and your admin. So that's going to be in your course. That's going to be module 1. I'm not going to get into that today because we're only doing acquisitions, but that would be module 1 in the course. Okay. The second department, and actually, if you can tell, these go through. This is your step-by-step process, right? So this is kind of like, okay, now where do I start? What do I do right now? 5-7. Okay. All right. So in this department, and in these departments, this is your step-by-step process. So first, you're going to get out there and set up your office and do all the things that you need to do to get your back office all set up. Okay. That is the first step. The second step is your marketing department. Okay. Now, if you were in my session this past week when I teach once a month, okay. I went over like all the different types of marketing out there. Okay. So I think that is if you are a member, I highly recommend. If you need help with marketing, you can just go back and watch that, because all of the replays are in the portal under training replays. You can watch that. If you need help with marketing, that's what I went over. Okay. And then the third step is your acquisitions, right? So once you get all your marketing set up, right, then you're like, once you get your mark set, you start receiving all these calls, and then you're like, crap, oh my gosh, I have all these calls now. Now what do I do? Well, you got to put the properties under contract, right? So that's acquisition. So that's what we're going to go over. We're going to go over the step where it's like, I've got all my marketing set up, and I'm getting calls coming in. Now what? That's what we're going to do today. Okay. And I apologize for the background noise if y'all hear that. I'm in a hotel that is like right next to an airport. So you'll be hearing a lot of planes going by and stuff. I apologize, but it is what it is. Okay. And let's see the next one. So now you put the thing under contract, and now you're like, okay, now what do I do? Okay, then to find the money, honey, right? So this is finance. And so this is going to be module 2 in the course. This is module 3 in the course. This is module 4 in the course. Okay. All right. And so now you're like, okay, now I got the money. Where do I get the money from? This is the module in my course that teaches you that. And then the next one, so now you have the money, and then you're like, okay, so it's going to be depending on what type, right? These deals right here, I mean, this section right here is basically going to be for like every single type of deal. You've got to set your office, you've got to get up, you've got to get marketing going, you've got to acquire property, and you have to find some money, unless you're a wholesaler, right? Wholesalers, you don't need money, but every once in a while you need money if you're going to double close. But and this one is you're going to either have a management department or a construction department. This is like management is like if you're going to do a buy and hold, to do Airbnb. Management is like me if you're going to have storage facilities, right? If you're managing properties, that's the management. If you're going to be like fixing the facility up or fixing the property up, then it's going to be construction, the construction department. And I go into what you have to do in those departments, okay? And that would be that's your fifth department. And your fifth step is like, crap, I bought this thing. Now what do? Okay, I have to rehab it, or I have to, or I have to wholesale it, set it up for like a vacation rental or whatever. So that's kind of what that's all about, right? And then the sixth department is your liquidations. Right? If you're not going to sell, then obviously if you're going to hold on to your properties for forever, then of course liquidations you don't have to worry about. But most of the time we sell our properties after a certain amount of time. All right, that's where you get all the money, right? Most of the time is on the sell. Now, if you're going, I just switched my screen. Yeah, if you're going to like rehab it, then you're definitely going to sell it, right? But like even me as a storage facility owner, like we don't want to sell all our properties, but we will probably sell some of them, right? So that's why I go into the liquidations part as well. Okay, so that is your 6 steps. That's your company. Those are your departments, right? So you can if you as your homework, create an organization chart and then put it on the wall. Again, why would you want to do this, right? The reason why is because whatever you visually see is what you create. Okay, so I'm a huge proponent of like manifestation. So I put that organizational chart right near my desk so I could always refer to it and see to it. And then my goal was personally to get rid of me in every single one of these departments, right? I don't want to be doing all this, right? Because this is way too much work. And most of the time you're doing all this at the same time. So it's really stressful, right? So I'm like, okay, how can I delegate and how can I replace myself, right? In the end, this is what I do. I find money. That's what I do. In all of my businesses that I've done in the real estate, we ever find any properties, or now a lot of properties are brought to me, but I do have acquisitions people that handle all the acquisitions and even on the rehabbing side and all that. So that was the one thing that I delegated first, was like marketing. Actually, no, marketing was the one thing I delegated first, because I just, if I have to manage that, it ain't getting done. Right. And then I started finding the properties. And this is what my coach said, is I should be finding properties and finding money. And so I did finding properties, finding money for many, many years. And then finally I was like, I'm tired of like finding properties. Like, I just want to focus on money. So then I hired acquisitions people to find the money find the properties for me. And I focused on the money. Okay. And then also when I was doing all those rehabs, I was not managing those rehabs. There's no way I can manage this. It's too much work. I just delegated that off is what I did. And I had somebody up, either a GC or a project manager managing those for me. Okay. And eventually I even had an in-house realtor that was managing all of our sales, because I think in 1 year we sold like 47 properties or something. So she kind of managed all that for us. Okay, so I was delegating a lot of stuff up, and I'm really good at raising money. That's just kind of what I'm good at. So, and I'm really, really good at creative deal structure. We'll get a little bit into that today as well too. I really focused on structuring deals and raising money. That's my thing. Now, as we look through all of these departments, and before we go into the acquisitions department, do me a favor and in the chat put, like, of all these departments, what's the one thing that you're going to be good at? Right? Which one of these departments do you think that you'd be the one that's like, okay, I'm going to do that, and I eventually my goal is to delegate everything else. For the chat, I would love to know what your what the one thing is that you're gonna, I tell my and actually Jay and Annie talked about this yesterday, and it is so true. It is so true. Can you imagine, excuse me, what your company would look like if you only focused on the things that you were good at, and everything else that you were not good at, you were delegating that off into somebody else, right? Could you imagine what your company looked like? It would, and Annie's company, it would look like Carson's company, it would look like my company. We are very, very good at figuring out those few things that we're good at, and then delegating all that, everything else off to somebody else. So put into the chat, of all these 6 departments, which things would you think, like, okay, once I really get into this, I'm going to be the one that focuses on acquisitions, or I'm going to be the marketing person, or the back off person, like the back office. I have a couple of students, like I have a student named Alan, and like he's good at managing back office stuff, and that's why he wholesales, and he delegates everything else off, is what he does, honestly. So yeah, so just kind of give me an idea. I don't see anybody put anything in the chat, so maybe it's my internet going slow, I'm not sure, but hopefully you guys are all there and listening and hearing me. Everybody here? Just making sure. Oh my gosh. Are y'all here? Are y'all listening to me? Did I get dropped off? Okay, good. Oh, scared me. Nobody's answering. Yes, I can hear you, but you froze. Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, just making sure. So you can, so everybody's there. Okay, awesome. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Put into the chat what you think you'd be good at. What are you going to delegate off? All right. Next page. Acquisition. This is your acquisitions department. Okay, this is it. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Okay, good. Thank you, Michelle. At least one person's listening to me. All right, okay. This is your acquisitions department. So what I do when I think of my acquisitions department, all right, and I'm going to go through, this is going to help you with like whether or not you're interested in short-term rentals, rehabbing, any type of deal. This is any type of deal. This will kind of help you. I go through like the 6 steps within your acquisitions department. Okay, the 6 steps within your acquisitions department. This is like you sent out your letters, and now you're going to answer the phone. And when you answer the owner and try to talk to them about, whether or not they want to sell their property, this is the next steps. Okay, so in the REI USA forms directory. Okay, so in your forms directory, there's something called the seller lead sheet. And basically, this is like what you should be asking your seller, right? You talk to them on the phone. This is all the questions. It's like a step-by-step checklist. So once you become a member, or if you are a member of REI USA, make sure that you check out the seller lead sheet. And when you talk to the owners on the phone, this is what all the questions that you're going to be asking them. Okay, so that's the first step, is to get the forms directory and get the seller lead sheet. On the seller lead sheet, you're going to want to know like everything about the property and the mortgage. Property and mortgage questions. Okay, that's what there is going to be on there. All right, so like, can you tell me a little bit more? What's the complete address? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Can you tell me what repairs are needed? This kind of thing. Okay, so once you download this, you'll just make sure that you have this checklist so that you can go step by step to ask all the questions. Another thing that you're going to ask them is what they want to sell the property for, right? What they want to sell their property for, and then also repairs. What type of repairs are needed on this property? Okay, what type of repairs? So that is the seller lead sheet, and it's in the forms directory. Okay, what type of properties Lisa, what type of repairs do you need? Okay, so that's like when you're on step one. All right, now what's going to happen is after they give you all this information, the next step is that you're going to think about what's called the ARV formula. The ARV formula. Has anybody heard of this? And if you have, what is it? Put it in the chat. The ARV formula. This is step one. This is step two. ARV formula. What does ARV stand for? Air value. Does anybody know that formula? That's good. The formula is ARV times 70% minus repairs. Now 70%, we'll talk about that as well too, but this is the formula, equals what we call, I guess, equals your Mayo. And then you can minus if you're going to wholesale. Okay. So that's the ARV formula. If you look at this formula as a step-by-step process, this will guide you through what you should be focusing on for your deals, whether or not you want to buy them, sell them, or hold them. Okay. All right. So this is kind of a good starting point. We're going to create the step-by-step process. The ARV is your after repair value. The after repair value means sale price, your sale price. Sale price. When you sell this property, what can you get for it? If you fix it up, if you're holding on to it, what are you going to be selling this property? Okay. And so how do you determine, does anybody have any guesses? How do you determine what your sell price is? Right? How do you determine that? You determine that by comps. All right. So really your second step in the ARV formula or your active process is, your third step is running comps, looking at comps. Okay. And this is on the residential side, not the commercial side, but this is on the residential side. Okay. Now how do you run comps? Okay. Let's come up with some ways. You can get a CRM, and you can get like a CRM, which I just told you about, is under the REI USA partners page. Things like Real Flow, Proper Prop Stream, Soft, REI Pro, like all these types of kind of like softwares will be under the partners page. And then you can go and you can do free trials, and they all run comps now, right? They all kind of just do everything. That's how they all are now. There's no like comp, there's no, actually another one is Privy as well too. They're also a partner with us, and they all just don't, they don't just run comps. They kind of like manage your whole process, you know, but you can pick one and try one out, and then just see which one is the best, which one works the best for you. Okay. That's one way. The second way is exactly what Carson talked about, which is partnering up with other realtors or getting access to the MLS. So you either need to become a realtor and get access to the MLS, or you can partner up with other realtors to get access to the MLS. Okay. You don't really need access to the MLS, honestly, because guess what? Freedom Soft and not Prop Stream, but Privy, Freedom Strop, REI Pro, all these, they all are pulling from MLS. They're partnering up with some brokerage that gives them access to their MLS. Is basically what's happening. So you really don't need to become a realtor, you know, nowadays, my personal opinion, but you know, you could get I guess you could get referral fees if you're a realtor, but essentially what I'm saying is that you want to be able to pull comps, right? So you need to either have access to the MLS or access to some other, okay, right? So that is step one. Step one is, or sorry, step three is comps. How do you run comps? So really this would be kind of like step three. Okay, like how do we get the after repair value? You get the after repair value by running comps. Okay. So you're talking on the phone, you're getting all the data from the seller. Once you get the data from the seller, then you go on and you start running comps, right? So that you can see possibly sell this property for. That's the next step, okay? Okay. Now, in the ARV formula, I'm going to just put this here. Okay. You have this 70%, the 70%, okay? And the 70% is what we call LTV. LTV. This is going to be step 4, figuring out your LTV. Okay, what is LTV? LTV is loan to value. Loan to value. Okay, what that means is it's the amount of money that the lender is going to lend on you based on the value of the property, right? And based on whether or not you need a rehab loan or not. Okay, it's the amount of money, it's the percentage, right? So when I say it's a 70% LTV, is that my lender is going to give me 70% of the value of that property. Okay, so it could be anywhere from, I'm guesstimating, it was 50, not 50, sorry, 50% to 100%, okay, of the loan, all right? Depending on who your lender is. So for instance, lenders, they give me 100% of the loan. But in order to get 100% of the loan, I have to pay a higher interest rate. Okay. Usually if you want 100%, you know, 100%, you know, covered, like I only want 100%. I don't want to bring any money to the table. I don't like to bring any money to the table. Okay. So, so I borrow at 100%. Okay. this is going to be a higher interest rate. Okay, so probably 9% plus, maybe even more. I would say 10% plus on your money. All right, now I'm typically getting like 8. Honestly, I get 8%, but the reason why I get 8% is because I've done a buttload of deals. That's why. All right, I have experience. I've done $20 million in deals. Okay, so I'm getting actually I'm getting between 6 and 8% for my private lenders. But I mean, basically, I'm to the point where I'm like, look, if you don't want to work with me, that's fine, but I'm only going to pay you 8%. Is basically how it works. So once you start getting a lot of experience, you get to control this. But when you have no experience, then you're going to pay a higher interest rate, starting probably at 10% and going up to even higher. Now, when I first got started, I paid on one loan, I paid like 16% interest. Like I wanted to get that deal done. So I was like, fine, I'll do it. And I just like, now the higher the interest rate, the faster that deal needs to get done, right? So you don't want to be taking out a 12% loan and it's dragging on for a year, this property, right? So the higher in the interest rate, the faster that deal needs to be done and refied out. Okay. All right. Now, when I was doing rehabs, like we were paying 10, 12, 15% interest, right? With a hard money loan, right? If you go to a hard money lender, and there's nothing wrong with going to hard money lenders at all, right? Just as long as you have some money to put down, they'll lend to you, depending on how much money you put down, right? Is what is going to determine their interest rate. So if you can't put 30% down, then your interest rate is going to be higher than somebody that can put 30% down or 50% down, right? So that down payment that you has determines what your interest rate is going to be. All right. Now, so if you can't come up with the money for a down payment, then guess what you do? You partner with somebody else. And our lenders like Civic and Baker Collins and all the ones that you're going to find on the sponsor page, they also have programs called like partner programs. So essentially you go and you talk, I really want to get into the game. Is there anybody out there that you know in your sphere of influence that'd be willing for me to partner with them? I'll do all the work, they bring the money, and then I'll do the deal, right? So they do now have partnership programs. All of them have this, right? So your homework is to talk to all of the lenders that we have as sponsors for REI USA, and they do like webinars. Almost every month we have one of our lenders doing a webinar on, like how to utilize hard money for your deals and stuff like this, okay? So then I think somebody said can a new investor borrow 100%? Yeah. So that's what I just said. If you don't have any money to bring to the table, you can definitely borrow at 100%, or you can partner. Now, if you borrow at 100%, what the lender wants to see is a lot of spread, right? A lot of spread, all right? Because like you can't just like net 10 grand and they're going to lend you 100 grand, because they want to make sure that you can make sure the deal is really, really good, essentially. So if you can bring 50% down to the table, then they don't care, like, how good the deal is. It has to be good, but it doesn't have to be that, because they only have 50% of the money. But if they're going to put 100% in, then like essentially that deal better be awesome. Okay, so you have to think in terms of the way that lenders think, right? Now, typically, a lender is going to be at 65 LTV, 65 to 70% LTV. Okay, all right. So that is why in the formula, you see 70%. All right. So what you want to do is you want to talk to all the lenders and figure out what their terms are. So what I did is I had like this kind of a spreadsheet, and it was called my like hard money lender master sheet. And I lived one of the lenders, and then I called them up and introduced myself and said, hey, like I hear that you can loan money out to people like me. Is it possible, for me to work with you? And if so, like, what are your terms? Right. So you want to ask them, and they'll say, and they all have different terms, and they all have different types of like packages out there. Every single lender is completely different. There's not one lender that's exactly the same. So your homework is so that you can truly, what your ARV formula is going to be determining what the LTV is. All right, so this is homework. Is to create a master lender sheet with terms so that you can determine this. Okay. All right. Is it 80%? Like 80%? Like people, like when I'm rehab, they would just be like, yeah, it looks good, do it. And then like a lot of times if I use hard money lenders, I want that LTV to be like, at 50% or 60%. Because I want to make sure that I have spread, because all these lenders, they always have like so many fees and stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? They have a lot of hidden fees and all this kinds of stuff. So you want to ask them, like, what's your hidden fees, right? What's your interest rate? What the terms of the loan? How long, what's the longest loan that you do? And this kind of stuff, so you ask them like, real lender questions. And then keep track of that so that when you come up with a deal, you can open up that sheet and then you can decide, oh, I think for this deal, it's a little tight. So I think this one might be better than this one. But when you have huge spreads, then you could use a different lender for that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like LTV is really honestly a strategy. And the only way that you can figure that is by talking to all the different lenders and seeing what they offer, so that when you run numbers and do deal analysis, that you can really look at them, okay? Really look at them. So that is number 4. Step 4. Now we're getting to the next step, which is minus repairs. Minus repairs, right? So we've got ARV times 70% minus, okay? So that's what that is. And so minus repairs means that you need to know what the repairs are going to be, right? So how do you determine what the repairs are going to be? You need a repair estimate. Now, this is all the different ways that you can do repair estimates. Number 1, you can download the repair estimate sheet in REIUS. Okay, so we have like a cheat sheet that you can go through and you can like quickly calculate repair estimates when you're looking at a house. This is for wholesalers, rehabbers, Airbnb people, whoever. When you're looking at the house, you need to calculate how much in repairs it's going to be. Okay, that is number 1. Number 2, flipper force. All right, flipper force, I'm telling y'all, is the best software out there right now. The best. Okay. And it's just basically, it's an all-encompassing software for people that are going to be doing like wholesaling, rehabs, landlording. You're going to buy property and you need to do any like repairs at all or run deal analysis or anything like that. I'm a true proponent of Flipper Forts. If you have not checked it out, please check it out. They are a partner of REI USA. To go under REI USA and click on partners like I showed today. And actually, I know the owner. I know both the owners very well, and they're just like super duper awesome people that like essentially they created the software to manage all the rehabs they do. You will be able to pull up in Flipper Force a scope of work and create a scope of work, and they have all the prices in there for you. So you could be like, oh yeah, it needs to do that. It needs to do that. Click massive like scope of work of like everything that you could possibly imagine. Okay. And then you could quickly you could not only a repair estimate is like it's like a quick budget, right? It's like, okay, that's why I have my cheat sheet essentially is what I have. I go through and it's quickly like, okay, it's going to be probably around 25 grand. I'm guesstimating, right? But Flipper Force is like, this is your scope of work and this is how you can create the entire scope of work within Flipper Force. Okay. Okay. That is what that is. I recommend that you check out both. Okay. Check out my cheat sheet that I've been using that forever and ever and ever. And then also check out Flipper Force and, get a demo done, trial it out, because you do they do from like, as soon as you get a property under contract, all the steps that you need all the way through to the very end when you close out the deal. So like even looking like QuickBooks and running your numbers and like knowing what your profits are. And the thing is like once you really start, when you become a true investor, I want to be a real estate investor. This is what I want to be. Like what you really need to be then is you need to be good at your numbers. Good at your numbers. When I was doing rehabs, I knew that buying carpet was $1.35 a square foot. I knew that putting in gutters was $7 a linear foot. I knew to take down a wall in a living room was $1,000. Like I just knew every number. And then I would look at my numbers after my deal to see like, did I stay on budget or not, right? And to really truly look at those Force does. Okay, that's what Flipper Force does. It really helps you to become a true investor, right? A true investor. We do the same thing. We have a software that manages all of our storage facilities, and we can pull up at any time all of our numbers. What's my vacancy? What's who's late? How much money did I make this month versus that month? What's my economic vacancy versus my physical? Like it just shows you all that, and that's what Flipper Force does. Okay, it can really manage your entire business numbers wise. Think Flipper Force. Okay. But to get like a quick repair, right? You can always use the repair estimate sheet, my little cheat sheet. Right. This is my cheat sheet. Okay. And then you can get the repairs that way, okay, as well too. All right. But you need to be able to know repairs, right? You have to know your repairs. Another thing I wanted to point out is that we have so many teachers. Like, so if you're interested in doing rehab, I highly recommend like Lynette, George, Jay and Annie, Carson, you heard. I mean, there's so many different people doing rehabs right now that they can all help you with that. Okay. So make sure you go to all their sessions is what I'm saying. Okay. Then finally, so now we have the ARV times 70% minus repairs equals your Mayo. Mayo stands for maximum offer. What is your offer, right? So number 6, the step is make an offer. And that number is determined by this formula. All right. So that's why you can use the ARV formula as a step-by-step process. All right. And then you know, okay, like I know I have to run comps. I got to figure out what the lenders are going to lend to me. I've got to figure out my repairs, and then I have to make an offer. Right. I got to make an offer. And that's how the process works. Make an offer. Now, in making an offer, you have to really negotiations. How can you negotiate with the seller? So you put your offer in, and then they're going to come back and be like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to do this. Right. So you've got to get really, really good with negotiations. Right. So what I would do is when you are sitting and listening to all these teachers, I tell everybody in my session, I always tell them there's really a couple things that you should be asking your teachers. Number one, ask teachers. Number one is, where do you get all your money from? Right? How do you fund your deals? Doesn't matter if you talk to Mike about land, or if you talk to the other Mike about wholesaling, or you go talk to George about rehabbing, or you go and listen to William Tingle, who teaches creative deal structuring and subject to, like, ask them, where are they getting all the money to do all their deals? All right. And number two is, I would ask them, like, how are you your seller? How do you negotiate? What are your tips and tricks on negotiating with sellers? Tips and tricks for negotiating. With sellers. So you want to hear what their tips and tricks are. Like, what are they good at? What are the things that they're saying to their sellers? So those are my two tips and tricks to you, to when you start hanging out with all these teachers, what you should be, and obviously you're going to be saying, you're going to learn from them, but like I always say, ask them for money, because once they start talking about negotiating, you hear so many different ways of how people get people to sell them their house, or sell them their property, right? How do I get everybody to sell them their storage facility? How does Mike get so many people to sell to sell land to him? What I'm saying? So it's like, that's the kind of stuff, it's the good stuff, right? All right. So that's my 6-step system in the acquisitions department. Okay. So your homework, it's a 3-day challenge, right? This is a challenge, right? Number one is talk to lenders, right? Talk to lenders. And find out what they offer. Number two, find a comping software. Number three, get seller lead sheet. Number four, get repair estimate sheet. And number 5 is make offers. If you ain't making any offers, you ain't getting any deals. All right. So let's get you to the point where you're making as many offers as you possibly can. Yeah, the first couple of these are like super duper 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 hard. Okay. But after a while, man, I was making blind offers. I'd be like, oh man, I'm just gonna put some offers in. Who cares? like, but this is the process that I went through in the very beginning to get myself started. All right. This is the process that I went through, in order to get where I am today. Okay. So that is my 2 cents on that. Okay. Everybody has all your homework, because I'm going to stop share. Got your homework? All right. Maybe Christy, you could take a screenshot of this in the private Facebook group as well too. Everybody should join the private Facebook group. And may Christy put the link to the private Facebook group in the chat. Be good.
All right.
And then from there, your next step is to join REI USA if you're not already a member. You have the link from Christy. And let me fix my hair. And you have the link from Christy. Get the bonus. Oh, the 6 modules are going to be in that course. And I go even deeper than this. Like, I'm not an hour here, right? That's like a whole course, right? So you'll get like a whole step-by-step process. Okay, so make sure I should have put down your homework is to watch the beginner investor course as well. Okay. All right. So again, thank you for the last 3 days hanging out with us. I'm really truly amazed by all the teachers for REI USA, and I hope you guys are as well too. And I appreciate you supporting us and being to help you. And I look forward to seeing everybody in my next sessions. I do the beginner investor one once a month, and I also do the storage one. So if you want to learn how to invest in self-storage, I do that as well. And that's once a month as well. Okay, so make sure you hang out with me, but check out all the teachers and then decide which ones are the best for you, which niches are the best for you, which teachers. Go to all of them and introduce yourself. Ask them those 2 questions, and then a couple of them. And just like, these are not peeps. I'm gonna just go to these. What I'm gonna do. What I see the members doing. Okay. All right. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys at the next session. All right. Bye.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.